This video contains both chapters 3 and 4 out of 6. Chapter 3. That night, the underside of the overpass was illuminated by their fire. Rin and Mac sat in the cold desert air, and listened for any night beasts that might be near. Rin tried to open an old can of food that he traded a smoke pipe for, back at the Salted City. He tried to be as quiet as possible, that way Mac would not be tempted to ask for any of his precious food. He put the tip of his knife on the top of the can, and with one hard quick tap on the butt of the knife with his hand, he popped a small hole in the top of the can. Mac twitched at the sound of Rin's knife penetrating the aluminum top of the can. What was that? Rin thought of a lie. I just was going through my stuff in my bag here and I accidentally must have hit something. Oh, Mac said, sitting in the sand, slouched forward. Now with the little hole in the can, the smell of the food inside escaped its aluminum prison. Rin took no time in starting to suck out the precious food inside. The sound of him frantically slurping and the smell of the food made Mac jump. What is that sound? Mac said, as he began to sniff the air. And what is that smell? Shit, Rin said, choking a little on brown bits of food. Don't scare someone like that, I nearly died. What are you doing over there? Mac said. It was supposed to be a surprise, Rin lied. But since you asked, here, take this. Rin held out the can, so Mac could have whatever was left. Mac waved his arms around in the direction that Rin was in, and took the can, out of Rin's hand. Thank you sir, Mac said before he started to chug the contents of the can. Rin made an angry and disappointed face. Then from the dark, Mac could hear something slither across the ground. Rin sir, I think there's something out there, Mac said pulling the can away from his lips, still chewing on food. Be quiet old man, I'm thinking, Rin said, still mad that he had to share his precious food. The sound grew closer, and by the time that Rin could hear it, the beast was already there in the camp. From the dark, beyond the light of the fire, a sandworm leaped onto Mac. Shit, it's a sandworm, Rin jumped up and ran to Mac. The sandworm was wrapped around Mac's arms and legs, twisting them and trying to break them. When Rin got to Mac, he already had his knife in his hand. He grabbed onto the worm and started to cut it to pieces. The sandworm unwrapped Mac, and with a mouthful of teeth it latched onto Rin's shoulder, tunneling into him. Rin started to stab where the worm's head was, in his shoulder. Die motherfucker die, Rin screamed at the worm, falling back onto the ground. Mac soon got to his feet, after being entangled in the sandworm. Mac waddled over to Rin and grabbed the sandworm, pulling on its tail. The cuts that Rin made when Mac was wrapped up started to tear, and with a splash of oily blood, the tail ripped off. The worm almost immediately stopped. Rin pulled the head of the worm out of his shoulder. Its head was covered with blood, and he could see chunks of meat in its mouth. Holy shit, Rin threw the head away, and began to cry, it was going to eat my fucking arm off. We must go to the sea, Mac said. Shut up old man, Rin said screaming at Mac. There is no sea, and there is no fucking water road. Mac sat down at Rin's side and stared at the bloody red hole that used to be Rin's shoulder. What are you doing? Rin said, looking at Mac confused. The hole started to shrink, and the pain went away. What's going on? Shush, Mac said. Once the hole was nothing but a pale indent in Rin's shoulder. Rin sat up and touched the pale spot. What did you do? You will see once we get to the sea, Mac said, getting up and walking to where he was sitting before, and lying down to sleep, leaving Rin in astonishment. Chapter 4. The next day, Rin woke up and saw that Mac was gone. He touched his shoulder and remembered what had happened the night before. A miracle, he thought. He got up and stretched out. The sun was just rising out of the horizon. The shade that the overpass made was far behind him. Mac, Rin yelled for Mac, cupping his hands around his mouth. Mac, where the hell are you? After walking around for a few minutes searching for Mac, he found him standing far out in the sand and morning wind, staring out to the southern horizon. Rin ran to Mac with all his stuff in hand. "You trying to get a head start, old man?" Rin said, running up behind him. Mac did not answer, he just stood with a blank face staring at the horizon. "Hey old man. Did you die standing up? You got to show me the water road, and how you did that thing last night." Rin waved his hand in front of Mac's face. "Hello, Mac." Mac jerked awake. "Come on, we're losing daylight," he said, walking forward away from the road, to the river. "You said it was only a day's journey, right?" Rin said, walking up beside Mac. "Yes," Mac said, "it will only be a day. You know that if you leave me out in the middle of the desert for nothing, I'm not afraid to kill and eat you," Rin said. "I've done worse things than that, to survive out here." "Don't worry, the river will be there," Mac said. "It better," Rin said, putting on his coolie hat. With every step the sand made large clouds, stretching out across the desert. The sun seemed to move slower than it ever had before. It burned Mac's bald head. Mac scratched at the dark spots on his head. Rin would be the happiest he has ever been, if it weren't for Mac and his adventure that he has him going on. With his coolie hat, Rin won't have to have a burning scalp ever again. Rin noticed Mac and his burning head. Something inside of Rin made him feel something that he had never felt before, and he thought that he should give or at least let Mac use his new hat. "No, me and my head have been burning in the sun for too long," Rin thought. "I got this hat fair and square, it's mine. But he's just a poor little old man. No, it's mine. Anyway, he is making me go on this crazy journey, I can have a little comfort. No, he's been here way longer than I have, he needs it more than me. No, no, no." Rin took his coolie hat off and put it on Mac's head. "Here old man, use this." "Oh, thank you sir," Mac said, tugging on the strings to make it tight around his head. "Thank you so much." "Yeah, don't make a big deal about it, I might take it back," Rin said, rubbing his sad cancer-encrusted head, softly so that it doesn't hurt him as badly. End of Chapter 3 and 4. Subscribe to be notified when Chapter 5 releases and for other new stories. And please leave a like to let me know if you like this kind of story.